Egyptian statues are some of the most iconic and well-preserved pieces of history. But many of these statues are missing their noses. Do you know why it is like this? Were they originally built without a nose, or is it due to nature's erosion? Well, there are lots of questions that need to be answered. Before moving on with our main topic, let's see a fun fact about Egyptian statues. Much of ancient Egyptian art was not intended to be seen by ordinary people. The work was developed in secret for the elite to witness because it was too strong to be seen by the general populace. Many of such artwork you may see and visit in Egypt, such as temples, pyramids, and tombs, would have been seen by very few individuals at that time. So, it's time to reveal the answers to the questions we raised earlier. Well, some believe it's due to a lack of resources or skilled sculptors during that time period. Others believe that the Egyptian people believed that statues with missing noses would be less likely to come to life and haunt them. Statues had a significant role in the culture of ancient Egypt. Statues of nobles and pharaohs from all the ruling dynasties could be seen among the magnificent architecture, which included luxurious palaces and wonders like the pyramids. But these sculptures adhere to a pattern that has archaeologists and history buffs baffled for decades: a case of shattered noses. There would be as many sculptures in perfect condition as there would be ones with deterioration, particularly in the nose. Some would shockingly be in perfect shape if it weren't for a broken nose. This is the mystery of Egyptian monuments and their broken noses, with speculations concerning colonization and internal political strife among Egyptians cited as possible explanations. There is strong evidence that the practice of defacing depictions of the human form persisted throughout the next 3,000 years of ancient Egyptian history, whether as a measure of defense against or an assault against perceived adversaries. Many people who have done research on the topic of the missing or altered noses in Egyptian monuments think that European colonization is to blame. According to legend, the sculptures' noses were shattered in an effort to rid them of their African heritage because Africans have distinctive noses that serve as their identifying characteristics. But there is absolutely no support for this hypothesis, and it has no basis in reality. Historians have criticized this by pointing out logical fallacies that contend that even if the statues' noses were removed, other aspects that were left intact would still allow for associations with their African origins. Breaking the noses of Egyptian monuments is surely not one of the evils that colonialism inflicted on the planet. Since the Europeans were not responsible for this enigma, it is frequently assumed that erosion is the only explanation. However, the statues in each of these cases showed evidence of deterioration in various places. The adjacent areas of the sculptures, such as the cheeks or torso, were also damaged in addition to the noses. Therefore, it seems unlikely that the sculptures whose noses were purposefully broken off were damaged naturally. However, this idea is made much weaker by the fact that the majority of these sculptures were found indoors, where they would not have been exposed to air. The iconoclasm and ancient Egyptians' trust in the supernatural argument is the one that does get the greatest regard in the academic community when it comes to discussions of Egyptian history. The rigid religious paradigm of ancient Egypt was well known for holding that after death, a person's life was kept in a statue. Although they were aware that these sculptures were immobile, they held the belief that when a person passed away, their life power was transferred into the appropriate statue, making the statues appear almost alive. The Egyptians thought that the sculptures needed to be destroyed in order to effectively remove this life energy. As a result, it's said that those who went to plunder the tombs of pharaohs and nobles would break the statue's nose first in order to effectively destroy this life force, because the statue wouldn't be able to breathe. The Egyptians strongly thought that the nose itself was the source of life for the departed, and breaking it was the only way they could kill them permanently. It may sound absurd to assume that a statue can breathe, but the Egyptians genuinely believed it. This hypothesis would explain why so many sculptures discovered exclusively in graveyards had their noses severed, with no other indication of natural corrosion. Although it is highly hypothesized that religious sentiments were at play, there were also political motives for destroying these sculptures. Regardless of the reason, it's fascinating to see how these statues have been affected by time. This brings us to the end of the video. Don't be afraid of giving suggestions on future videos in the comments section below.